Welcome to What in the World, a project initiated by Hungry for Life International. Today's podcast is titled Business and Missions, and Jess will be interviewing Dick Westeringh. So grab your headphones, sit back, relax, and listen as they talk about the impact of employee engagement.
All right, here we are again, another Monday. I know it's not Monday, but we release these on Mondays. So happy Monday to everyone. And welcome back to another episode of What in the World, a Hungry for Life podcast where we talk about a wide variety of topics, all to do with running a global nonprofit. So today we have a special guest who is not a staff member as per usual, who has been, I would say, pivotal in a lot of projects with Hungry for Life that we'll get to. But I'd like to welcome Dick Westeringh. Hi, Dick.
Hello, Jessica.
Good morning, and how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
That's good, that's good. We've actually already been through the whole good morning, how are you, but it's a formality here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So today's topic is one that I'm personally very passionate about. This is something that was on my mind even before I started at Hungry for Life, so I'm excited to talk to you about this. And you are the perfect person to interview about this topic, which is business as a mission. And so I think that if there was a hypothesis for this podcast, it would be business as mission is demonstrating what the kingdom of God is like in the context of business. And as we do so, engaging with the world's more pressing social, economic, environmental, and spiritual issues. Okay, full disclosure, that's not my statement. I did not come up with that, but I read it on, I believe, the Business as Mission website. Have you heard of Business as Mission, Dick?
I have not.
It's an organization that is dedicated to connecting business leaders and businesses with the ministry, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So shout out to them for giving me that cool quote.
Yeah, it's a great statement.
Yeah. I do want to read it one more time because I want that to sink in for our listeners, and then it can be a quote that we come back to. So, business as mission is demonstrating what the kingdom of God is like in the context of business. And as we do so, engaging with the world's more pressing social, economic, environmental, and spiritual issues. So that, I'm going to leave that at that, and then we'll probably circle back to that. But over to you, Dick. I want our audience to get to know you a little bit. Can you tell them what you do?
I'd be happy to. I think we first need to maybe just understand who I am, because that very much plays a role in what I do.
Bad introduction for...
So when I think of myself, I consider myself to be a Christian first. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm a husband. I've married an angel named Marianne.
Oh, she is an angel.
And together we've been blessed with 11 children. So I'm a father and 15 grandchildren. Wow. So that's a huge family, a huge blessing, a huge responsibility. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, I'm the founder of a company called Wespo. It started out in 1977, so that's 44 years ago, as a framing and foundation subcontracting company with 4 employees. And today it's actually a group of companies that employs 170 employees. Wow. So it's grown an awful lot. I have the privilege of working with 8 of our 11 children. Wow. And I'm also really blessed that those kids are running, together with a very talented employee group, are running the companies that Wespo consists of. So Wespo Group has built literally thousands of homes, with 540 in 1 year being kind of the max. Wow. So it's a large number. We are developers of communities, really, at this stage. Right. We develop land and then build homes. Mm-hmm. I was born and raised on a dairy farm, and we've kind of kept we have a large agricultural component. Mm-hmm. We farm thousands of acres, grow cereals, grow corn and barley and canola in Saskatchewan. We milk thousands of cows. We grow thousands of beef and chicken. So it's
So you're
pretty big.
single-handedly sustaining Canada's economy.
No. We're a
kidding,
tiny
but yeah.
little part. We're a tiny little part, but it's, in my mind, it's big.
Yeah.
And then, in addition to that, really my son Nicholas' initiative started Westbow Capital, which is an investment into residential real estate. And so we have residential apartments and/or homes, rental units in Winnipeg, in Lethbridge, Alberta, in Saskatoon, and in Edmonton, and then as well in Chilliwack. So, and the really cool thing about that is I've been my entire life wanting my friends and family and employees to invest.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, we all need to get up and work for our money,
Mm-hmm.
but as soon as possible, that money needs to start working for you,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can have that education fund for your kids or that retirement fund for yourself, just in case our government runs a little shy on cash. It doesn't seem like doesn't seem like they're that shy right now, but
Mhm.
maybe one day they will be, and then we might need to take care of ourselves.
And you got your contingency.
I love to promote that, and I
Mhm.
like to take a longer term view. Please don't think just tomorrow, and don't
Mhm.
spend everything today, but think 5 years, 10 years down the road. Who do you want to be then?
Mhm.
But of course, in our part of the world, investing in real estate is becoming more and more and more challenging. So the cool thing about Westbow Capital is our employees can, invest little amounts or larger amounts with us and have the market kind of work for them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is a
because-
very cool thing to offer your employees.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And, in my life, I've realized that, a mortgage, a 20-year mortgage, when you're as old as I am, 20 years doesn't seem like it's that terribly long. But for young people, it's forever,
Yeah.
right? So I tried to get them to just think, okay, well, think in a 5-year term.
Yeah.
So in a 5-year term, 1/4 of your mortgage, more or less, has been repaid.
Mhm.
And your home is worth probably significantly more percentage-wise.
Right.
So that difference is your equity, and
Mhm.
that's kind of the money that can start working for you, right?
Mhm.
So, so Westbow Capital is capable of helping our employees and our friends and family invest,
Mhm.
in an area of where we have expertise.
Yeah, that's really neat.
It's really cool.
And I've
I
known
love
you
that.
guys since I started. Your wife was the first team I ever led with Hungry for Life.
You did a great job, by
And
the
I
way.
felt so sorry for that team. But anyways, and what I'm trying to say is I've known you guys for a long time, and I didn't know the scope of what Westbow covers. So interesting.
So there you have a little brag
Yeah.
session. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of what you do with Westbow. There is a little aspect of Westbow, not a little aspect, but there is a part of Westbow that is involved with Hungry for Life. How did you, first of all, we'll get to what that is, but how did you get connected with Hungry for Life, and what made you want to invest in missions work?
So it's a pretty cool story, really. As you know, Jessica, 6 of our children are adopted internationally. So
Mhm.
we have 2 Haitian kids, and we have 3 Ethiopians and 1 Guatemalan.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to do a special project in each one of our adopted children's birth countries.
Mm.
And so I think it was in 2007 or 2008, we were looking for some kind of a project in Haiti to take our Haitian kids to. And so a friend of mine introduced me to Steve Johnson, who had
Mhm.
just started working at Hungry for Life.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit familiar with Hungry for Life because our kids were partaking in the Shekinah
Yes.
youth ministry that Dave and Charlene were
Yeah.
primarily.
The city worship event.
Yeah. So we kind of just were willing to at least check out the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And to my surprise, I found out that Hungry for Life is just this amazing organization that helps churches and businesses that want to invest in the developing world in projects there. They help them 100% free of charge. So that was kind of a shock to me. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of company is this or organization is this that works for free?
Yeah,
and
shady.
what will they what kind of quality of
Where's the catch?
Yeah, where's the catch? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found out that there's just no catch. These are that's just the way organization was set up. As you know, Jessica, you raise your own support.
I do know this.
Yes, and then you help others free of charge to them, which is just like, it's such a picture of servant leadership. Christian is what our Lord wants us to do, is help others. I don't think he necessarily wants us to do it free of charge, but you guys just throw that in there as an extra bonus for
extra jewel in our crown.
Yeah. So Steve Johnson, he was a member at Southside Church, and Pastor Mike Manis had recently adopted a couple of Haitian kids.
Yeah.
And while Mike, believe his family, or at least, all I know is that the pastor was there himself, and he was walking his kids from the orphanage to school on a daily basis while they were there for a couple, 3 weeks, kind of familiarizing themselves with the country and preparing to take their new family back to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was walking his kids to school, and then there's this entourage of little black people, following him, laughing and dancing the way they do there.
Yeah.
And so he's, connecting with them, and he's kind of, after a while, he's like, well, why are you guys not in school?
Mm.
And he realized that they didn't go to school. And so why was that? And that was because their parents couldn't afford school tuition. So Mike, being Mike, couldn't live with that. And he started a process, he's looking up the way most pastors do. And he looking around, the way we have to do down here. Mm-hmm. And he found a pastor that was willing to start a little school in his church, Pastor Vogeley.
Mm.
And so they started and trusting that God would, do something. And so they had kindergarten and grade 1 by the time I was introduced to this. And so Steve was like, yeah, we'd love to start a school in Haiti. And the town was Mirabelais. Mm-hmm. And so I was like excited about that. And it was going to be done in partnership with Hungry for Life. Mm-hmm. And so then that kind of started the process of myself getting to know Hungry for Life, its leaders, its mission, and yes, they. So what they did is they kind of helped assess the situation and helped secure a contract for the property, to buy a property to build a school on, and secure a building contract, and they were just an amazing help for myself, just wanting to be involved. And so that's how it started. Mm-hmm. That's how our relationship started.
Very neat. And so fast forward a little bit, you have been taking employees down to Haiti. Have you done a Westbow trip to Kenya?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Haiti and Kenya. So how did that all happen? From meeting Steve, collaborating with Pastor Mike, getting the school going, to, hey, let's take employees down. Why do that?
Yeah. So good question. So it was really cool taking our kids to see, their birth country and just a different culture. And but not only was it cool, in many ways it was very impactful, in many ways it was also sad. Like the things you see, they just, the experiences you go through, it just draws you closer to the people that you go and have these experiences with. Mm-hmm. It's just a really cool experience altogether. But I think so I guess, it can't help but change whoever goes down there, and I say it's always for the better, it makes you, I think, humbler, more appreciative of what you've been given in our own great country, Canada. And you just come back a better person. Mm-hmm. And so our construction family is what I call it. Like, it's just really an extension of our family. There's only.
I love that.
Yeah, and we have so many great people. So, and I love to promote generosity. So I just kind of one day threw it out there. Hey, we're building this school in Mirabelais, and the way it started is, it started with a number of classrooms, and then every couple of years we add to the classrooms and build, and so the project kind of just stayed ahead of every year. Like every year they'd add another kindergarten class, and then grade 3 would become grade 4, and and so So we've been building that school for more or less a dozen years,
Right.
which is kind of fun. And we've taken, actually, I believe it's taken 12 teams altogether,
Okay.
consisting of most of the time, like 12 or 13 or 14 people. 15 was kind of our maximum. So yeah, most of the time it was like that many people. So a lot of our employees have gone.
Right.
But so to me, to have them be willing to sacrifice a couple of weeks of their time to go and help in a faraway country, to assist some poor people, that was just really cool.
And what was the response from them? Like, did you have a hard time getting people?
No. People wanted, people signed up pretty quick. And especially after the first time, well, first it was my family that was coming back, kind of like talking about it. And then employees got kind of interested. And employees also wanted to know what our family was doing. And so, as we shared, they became more and more interested. And then as our team started to go, everybody comes back really excited about the trip. And the things that they saw there, and the things that we did, and it's also really cool to be going through these, more challenging experiences with employees.
Right.
Because
it's almost like one of those team building exercises 100%. On a 2-week basis.
Oh yeah, you come back, you're friends. Like you may have gone as an employer-employee relationship, but you come back as being more like a family. Like you've gone through this. We've gone through a lot of, like I say, some tough stuff. And the Lord uses that, to help us bond together, to, make us, connect us, right? So, so there was all those reasons for going. And like I say, everybody comes back a better person.
So did you find that, I think I'm jumping all over the place from the questions I sent you, but did you find that when the employees came back, they spread the excitement and they got other people excited to go the following year? Or
yes,
how did that impact, or did it impact your employee morale?
I believe it impacted our employee morale. Like, we have a very positive morale anyways, so, but, the fact that you are now as a group, so at Westbow, it's not about me, and it's not about the company, it's about what we together can do, how we can make this world a better place. That's what that's what we all work for and live for. And and them partaking in that, even if you're just like, if you never go on a mission trip, but you're just working there, you're contributing, because the company is then building these schools and other things, right? So there's that. Actually, I forget what you were asking me.
If it impacted your employee morale as a whole, but you said.
Oh yeah, it made it better. And people really appreciate somebody that has wealth sharing it with people that don't.
Right.
So there's that. I mean, I hear that a lot. So, I'm thankful for that, and that's honestly just who I want to be. I really thank the Lord for my great wealth, and the fact that I can use it for His purposes is what I want to do.
I heard of this term called workship, and it's kind of obviously combining worship and your work and into one. And I think that what you're describing embodies that quite perfectly. It's like using your work to minister to people, no matter what you do. You're in construction, you're in trades, that it seemingly seems quite far from being a pastor or working in the church, right? And it seems like there's quite a big chasm between the two, like a ministry worker being that of a pastor, or like quote unquote, or like a corporate business owner. And I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever experienced this, but I know that a lot of business owners feel like they are one person in the workplace and a different person evenings and weekends or at church. And it's like, it's hard for them to kind of figure out their place of ministry in the workplace. And like what does business as a mission mean to you?
Well, for me, it's really 100% the same thing. I see business as the way Paul describes the body of Christ. like, of course, Christ is the head. I see the pastor as maybe being the mouthpiece, and then other different, and business maybe being the legs supporting, God's people, missions, the church, all the things that God wants us to support.
Absolutely. And I think that if more businesses caught on to this idea, it would level out a little bit, and it would just be an understood thing that everyone has a place in ministry, and you can use whatever you're doing.
So as a younger person, I didn't think this way. And, we had this larger family that I was just really keen on ensuring that I was a good dad and a good provider, and I worked really hard to do that. But I had a Christian friend come along and tell me, as the kids were growing up and there was really a little bit less need for me to be just pushing, he helped me see that, to use my talents, so to speak, for God's purposes. I mean, he's given me the ability to do the things that I'm doing, and to be just doing them now for him, as opposed to, whereas, when you're younger, I mean, at least myself, I was selfish, and I was just like doing it all for me, and then doing it for my family, and then realizing that I love doing it. Why am I doing it still? Well, there's this really greater, bigger, better cause. And, so to continue doing what I was doing now, but, I've got an even better cause to be doing it for, is really encouraging. It's, I love work. I love doing the things that I'm doing. And why wouldn't I keep on doing it? Well, if I don't need the money, then why do you do it, right? Well,
right.
There's lots of other uses for that money.
And what, like, at the beginning of the podcast you mentioned, like, a lot of what you do is you develop cities, and you plan and you build.
I love that.
Well, you've been doing that in Haiti.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool crossover. And me and my dad went there to UCI. I'm talking about UCI, which is up north. I don't even...
United Christian International.
Yes, yeah. I'm just trying to
Paris.
figure out what city that was in.
Christy and John,
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we went up there, and we saw, like, the village that was built out. And it's just such a cool thing that you took what God gifted you with, and you plunked that somewhere where there was huge need. And it's becoming quite self-sustaining as well, like the university, which is we love that.
It's amazing. It's
amazing.
amazing.
And I know business people love to hear the term self-sustaining as well. So it's been really cool to watch that all play out. And then trickling over to Kenya. Kenya's been more recent, right?
Yes, well, Kenya, we did a mission trip. So I was a board member on Hungry for Life, and they did a board trip to see some of the projects that they were involved in. And so a couple things happened there. One, the year before, my son Yen had gone with his two sisters, Megan and Sion, to Kenya on their own little personal mission trip. And Yen met this lady that her name was Martha. And she had such a tough life story, but she's an angel, and she's taken care. She took in 22 abandoned children. And she was living in a little lean-to on the side of a church with a mud floor, and it was just atrocious living conditions. And that meeting changed Yen. So he came back, and he's like, Dad, we've just got to do something. So part of this, on this trip, we met Martha. And so, and the other thing that's really cool about Hungry for Life, like, I worked with a number of different international organizations that, help people, charitable organizations. And most of them pick a fairly successful kind of enterprise on the ground, and then support that more, because that's easy, right? Then it's, then you've got the thing going. And whereas Hungry for Life, they'll come along and they'll help that smallest, like in my case, because Martha was something that, just wouldn't. And, and there's another example in Ethiopia, Tilahun, that also, he's a street kid that, he's an amazing young man. But, to have an international organization recognize that and, be willing to work with somebody that small is a pretty tall order, And so
Yes, yeah.
I love Hungry for Life for their willingness to look at the small people. And anyways, in Kenya, while we were there, we met Pastor Silas. And that's just another really amazing story. I hope you do podcasts to kind of like highlight these different individuals that God has used to do amazing things in their own country. So we partnered with him on that trip. But then my wife, she was introduced, we both as a couple were introduced to kind of accidentally to grandmothers, because we went to this little school that we were hoping to support. It's kind of like kindergarten. And we walked home some of the students. And the students were grandchildren that were being raised by their grandmothers, largely, and because that grandmothers that are mothers that had lost their children due to the AIDS epidemic, and were raising their grandchildren in a mud hut, and really didn't have enough food really for them, didn't have any money for tuition, so these kids weren't going to school, and it was just really terrible. And really shocked my wife. So she ended up not being able to live with that, as you know, because you went back with her.
I did.
to see these ladies and to see how, how we could help, right? And so, there, the Voice of Hope group was born through that.
Man, have they grown, hey?
And they've grown, and they've just done amazing things. I'm so proud of that,
Me too.
of my wife and all those girls that participate in that. Yeah, they've just done a really good job of that. And so, so there's 3 projects there in Kenya. And then there's the one in Ethiopia that we're doing with Hungry for Life. And that's Tilahun.
Right.
And this is another super cool story, because this kid, he was a street kid. And, I'm like, well, what is a street kid even? Growing up in Canada, like, you don't know. But there, in this city of Addis Ababa, 6 million or something like that people, there's these kids that they just don't have parents, or the parents abandoned them, and they're just out on their own. And they could be like 3 or 4 or 5, or like young kids all the way up to adults, living on the street, begging, and these kids don't go to school. But Tilahun, he had some Canadian lady come by and pick him along with 5 other kids and send them to school, roughly when he was 8 years old. Put him into an English boarding school. So this young man and his buddies learned to speak English and got an education. And he's like 18 years old, and he's really wanting to give back. And so he started this ministry called Simple Acts of Kindness. And then he also started a business on the side as a tour guide. And that's how I got to meet him.
Oh.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law. And my daughter-in-law is Ethiopian, and she went back to try to meet up with her family, and we ended up using Tilahun anyway. So long story short, got to meet Tilahun, and he was telling me about, his Simple Acts of Kindness group. He had this group of volunteers that would bring these street kids together once a year at first on Christmas Day and give them a meal, free meal. Because he was saying, like, when he was a street kid, the worst days were the holidays, when everybody was celebrating with family, and, they were just like, they had no family, they had no really celebrations, and So, but he wanted to also get these kids that really had very little into some kind of an education system. So we're working with him through Hungry for Life with that in Ethiopia.
Are you guys itching to go?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we've been itching to go. Like, this whole COVID thing threw a big monkey wrench into all of our plans.
Yes, I know. We have a few teams waiting in the wings. As soon as the green light goes, everyone is going to be on those planes.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm sure you guys are going to be some of the first.
We can't wait.
We're going to start to wrap it up here a little bit. Curious, if you could choose a Bible verse as your mission statement for Westbow, what would it be?
Yeah, well, one that really resonates with me is Matthew 25, verse 40, where it says, the Lord says, if you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. And that just...
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it just kind of like really speaks to me, because I feel so privileged for, my country, my heritage, just, things that I took for granted. I was that stupid kid that skipped out of school, and here these little people are just dying to go to school. Like, they want to go to school so bad, and they can't.
Yeah.
There's no school, or they have to just, there's no funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that cycle of poverty just gets repeated when they can't even read or write. It's terrible. Like, I couldn't even imagine it when I was going to school, that was happening in this world, right? And it's happening today. Still terrible.
It is. And what a great verse as a mission statement. Okay, this is my last question for you. Do you have any good stories about one of your trips with your employees?
So I was telling you that people come back better, right? Well, and of course, as an employer of that many people, we have a number of Christians, but we have way more non-Christians. So, in a couple of cases, my non-Christian employee / friend gave their life to Christ. So that was huge. That was just that's kind of the ultimate thing. In another case, one of our employees realized that he had an addiction issue, and he decided that he was going to go get help. So that's really positive things. Everybody comes back as a better person. But I think one story that I'd like to share with you is just something that happened to me personally, and that's when our two Haitian children went back to Haiti for the first time. And we'd been looking for years and years trying to connect with some family members. And by some miracle, which is a story all on its own, we ended up meeting our children's dad, Papa Brisma.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and this was so cool. Like, he met us at the airport because we were just ready to leave. And, this guy, his eyes were just like two fountains of water. Like, I felt for him. He was so happy to see his kids because he'd had to give his kids up after Mom passed away.
Oh.
And, and they were going internationally, and he had no idea if he'd ever see him again. And, and he did. And they were young, healthy, like my daughter's a nurse, and my son is like a young businessman, and, just doing everything that they want to or can do. Just so cool. Anyways, so we wanted to connect. We connected with the other family members, and we were just wanting to kind of help them with a hand up somehow. And so it turned out, through our discussions, that we realized that Papa Brisma and I had some number of things in common. Like, we were born in the same year, which is pretty cool. And he had 12 children, and I had 11.
Wow.
And 2 of them we shared. Right. So we had a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah.
But we had some real major differences.
Okay.
Like, he'd never been to school.
Okay.
So, and we're talking about some numbers, and he didn't know what 3 times 7 was.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was going to be really challenging, and we tried to, and and it ended up, like, throughout the years, it just was really challenging to help them with a hand up. The hand out is not a problem, but the hand up, it was really hard for them. Yeah. But the other really sad thing is that of the 11 kids, only one of them, they all pooled their resources, send one to school. So one member of their family could break that cycle, and all the other ones were, again, illiterate. And it just made me realize, what a difference. Like, here's 2 kids that would have been in that family had their mother lived, that now were in my family, doing everything they want to do, and these kids I just love my kids. I mean, so proud of them. But, then you see these other kids, they just didn't have. Yeah. So just super sad. Yeah. So there's happy and there's sad things that you see there and you experience, and, you just makes you a better person. You come back, you're more humble. You just realize that, you've been given a lot. Yeah. So, and I want to give back a lot. That's why I do what I do. And
you do. You do that very well, Dick. Sorry, I didn't prep us with Kleenexes.
Gonna have to next time.
Well, thank you.
It's a happy, sad story, right?
That's amazing that you were able to locate their dad. And
I know,
that they
it was
could,
such a miracle after
Yeah.
so many years
Yeah.
of like striking out, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another really cool story. It's a Jason Krill and Wilhelmina Krill story.
Oh yeah, we've
Yeah.
heard from them on this podcast. They're a wealth of stories.
Yeah, well, they're a wealth of talent and dedication and
Mhm.
everything godliness. Yeah.
Yes, we do love them. Yeah, what a cool story, a cool testimony, and I really appreciate you coming here and sharing that, because I know it's really inspiring for me and TJ here sitting today to still listen to that and be inspired, and that's what this is about. And thank you for following God's calling in your business and for being you guys. I love you and Marianne so much and everything that you guys do. So thanks for taking the time. If you guys want to know more about what projects Dick was talking about, on our website, you can find, if you just click international partnerships down to Haiti or Kenya or Ethiopia, you can find it. Check out Westbow's website. There's your plug too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lots going on there.
Yeah, lots
and
going on.
Yeah, that's all I have for today. So I'm going to say that's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to What in the World, where we seek to educate and inspire. Here at Hungry for Life, we are passionate about your group having a global impact and eradicating needless suffering. For more information, head over to our website at hungryforlife.org. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you may listen to podcasts. Tune in every other week for another conversation about what is happening at Hungry for Life.